A lot of people only are afraid of directing because they don't like interacting with so many people, because as an editor you just interact with two people max to max, max to max, a director and a producer. As a director you have to be very adaptable. You have to constantly see, is this the best version of the story that you wanted to tell, and that's coming out, and that's what you sort of tell your editor to sort of arrive at it. Masaan, we were not given a track or trolley because there was no money to put a track or a trolley or something, and that was the one thing which was made initially clear. Gangs of Wasseypur was an educative project for me. I got to meet the most amazing bunch of people, starting from Mr. Anurag Kashyap to Shweta Venkat, who's the editor on the film and who's someone whom I worked with. Editing is purely about understanding human psyche. Today I'm cutting Neeraj's second film after Masaan, and it's like a nice journey. It's like we are arriving and we have to get this cut ready by end of December. Chashma is a film about this kid. It comes from a very personal space. It's something that I went through. It's a kid who suffers from myopia, who's not able to see anything at far, and who's unable to tell anyone because he's scared of being bullied in class.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to IndiaTodayNE. My first question will be, from an editor to a director, how did this all started?
So for me, it started pretty early actually. I always wanted to direct for a long period of time. But once I got into the editing, it took like a little while. Once, like, because I started working with certain directors, and it was a process, and editing is something that I really enjoy truly right now also. Like, even after directing the short film, I'm still editing films, and as I'm trying to write my another film and everything, it's still the process of it. So the process was because editing is related so much of film coming together at one point of time. It was something that was a very easy transition is to eventually directing. A lot of people only are afraid of directing because they don't like interacting with so many people, because as an editor you just interact with two people max to max, max to max, a director and a producer, and with filmmaking, with the direction, you are interacting with a whole bunch of people, which I personally enjoy quite a bit. And that's how it was an easy transition for me to move from editing to directing.
Okay, so what is the role of director in editing, as you were saying?
In director in editing per se, what happens is, so when you film a shot, a film, like any sort of a film, like any mainstream film is shot, like you will actually see like a 3 hour version of, or 2.5 hour or 2 hour version of a certain film, but the footage that comes with it is around like maybe sometimes 200 hours, 300 hours, and you are dealing with a lot of footage. So what happens is, firstly, the editor once makes a cut, is the director who sort of like aligning ki this is the film he was intending or she was intending to make, and you sort of try to get the best possible cut towards what director wants, and eventually, and in my case, because I was directing and editing myself both, so the idea was to be objective myself also, and yet be like as loving to my film as a director, but as an editor also be objective at certain point of time, even for something as small or something. If you have to try out different cuts, or try out like somebody saying something, you have to be very objective towards people's thoughts as to what they are reading from a story, and how you can improve a certain story. So it's, as a director you have to be very adaptable. You have to constantly see, is this the best version of the story that you wanted to tell, and that's coming out, and that's what you sort of tell your editor to sort of arrive at it.
So, as you were in Northeast India, so have you ever watched any films from this region?
I'm on the jury of this festival, and I have been a witness to some incredible films actually while being on the jury, and I've like voted for a certain amount of film, which I'm sure you will get to know about the ceremony tomorrow. But it's like, for me, it's like just watching these films itself, like so many films coming from rooted heartland and talks about the issues that are there, like something like a Kenny's film Three Sisters. It's such a heartwarming film. I had a really, like, Kenny's someone who goes back to Bombay, matlab is someone I knew from Bombay while I was working with Anurag Kashyap, and friendly face, and he used to write for Passion for Cinema, and we had a lot of common friends, and I remember watching his first or second film when he used to stay in Bombay, going back there. So there are people I know somewhere, and like for him, when I know when he made his first film, which was a low budget indie film which he made, which was and to see what he's making now, and he's actually like such an evolved, very different filmmaker from what he was initially started at. That itself is quite a nice journey to follow. And for me, like right now, northeast like is a very like interesting space in terms of artists who are coming from there. There's this film, a friend of mine, Nancy Nina Besso, she has produced this short film by Theodore called Ada, one short film, which was also a brilliant short film. And a lot of like interesting, very rooted films are coming out, which is very nice to see.
Okay, so Notice is good content wise.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, see, any place which is bubbling for a long period of time, which is bubbling with what a lot of things to say, and they haven't had like an exposure. And thankfully, in last, what OTT and platforms have given us is suddenly like they have an access. They got like a space, so you don't need to be worried about, oh, there's only a Bollywood or there's only a Chennai film industry in Telugu or Tamil or these three primary industries. Like you have like your other industry can grow. Like you can make a smaller film based in Northeast in a certain right. If made in a right budget, it can do well and it can reach to a people all the way to a different corner in this country. Who's like, I'm sitting when I was watching the films at the which are the part of the competition. I'm sitting in Bombay and watching them, and because by the time we have to do the voting, so that itself was quite a nice experience. Just watching it's an opens up the world to you while you're watching it. Like you, because I am from Calcutta, so there is that aspect which is there. Ki it doesn't feel very distant to me. Like the food and everything, like today when I'm going out and everything, it all feels very connected because we've grown up being like Bengali and Assamese and Northeast
Quite
and everything.
similar.
It's very similar, and you have friends from Northeast, and while I was studying in Bangalore, so that aspect of it is all there. But to see films coming from there, that's very nice, and it's becoming increasing. That's the best part about it.
So it's been 9 years of Masaan, and that's talking about the budget. That was a low budget movie.
Yeah.
So what were the unique techniques that you have applied in that film?
Unique techniques was, I think there was an inherent passion which, like filmmaking is, techniques just come out. Techniques are momentary. Techniques come out in terms of, when I feel like techniques come out when you don't have the resources, when you don't have the money, you yourself will think of ideas to sort of arrive at situation. When you, like, I remember Masan, we were not given a track or trolley because there was no money to put a track or a trolley or something, and that was the one thing which was made initially clear. So we had planned our shots, and while Neeraj had planned, Avinash, everyone, the design was in a such a way that we're gonna shoot it in such a way where the design is like, we don't require that kind of movement. So that was just one example of it. There are many like small example, but at the end of the day, there's no sort of like in like technique per se. It's more about like, if you are really passionate about wanting to say what you want to say, whatever the money, whatever it is, you will make it work and you will find inventive ways to say it. And that was our learning from it, is like you just need like the desire and the hunger to say the story. That's the very basic nature of telling something.
Okay. So was Gangs of Wasseypur a breakthrough project for you?
Gangs of Wasseypur was an educative project for me. I got to meet the most amazing bunch of people, starting from Mr. Anurag Kashyap to Shweta Venkat, who's the editor on the film and who's someone whom I worked with, to Neeraj was assisting Anurag, Anubhuti Kashyap, who was Anurag Kashyap's sister, and she was also assisting. And there's so many assistants, Vicky Kaushal, Varun Grover, everyone was assisting on that film, Vasan Bala, everyone was around in that film. And it was one place at that period of time. I remember a lot of times we wouldn't have money or something, but like there's so much hunger and so much energy within that office space. Within, while I was cutting my Gangs of Wasseypur, I was working on my Gangs of Wasseypur, I was editing 3 short films parallelly with Neeraj. We had worked on short films. So by the time I got out, it was my second film school in some sort of a way, where I did that film school and quickly jumped into walking into the next phase of like wanting to independent reality. And that paved way for me for Masaan, because me, Varun Grover, Neeraj, we all became such tight people. And strangely, right now, like literally yesterday, I'm cutting Neeraj's second film after Masaan, and we were editing yesterday evening only together. And and it's like a nice journey. It's like we are arriving and we have to get this cut ready by end of December, and Varun is involved, Neeraj is involved, again the same bunch of people I'm working with, and it's a film which we are very excited about.
Okay. Now tell me about your movie which is in screening right now.
Yeah, Chashma is a film about this kid. It comes from a very personal space. It's something that I went through. It's a kid who suffers from myopia, who's not able to see anything at far, and who's unable to tell anyone because he's scared of being bullied in class. And what happens when a day when he gets trapped in a situation where he has witnessed something, where he's been part of witnessing something, but he's actually not been able to witness. And when somebody questions him that what did you actually see, then he's in a spot as to what to say, because he hasn't seen anything. So it's actually at a very core level, it questions the idea of seeing. Do you really see things for what they are, or do you see your do your play perception play in seeing things? Do you like when someone tells us a story, which is especially in news world right now, is something that is grappling with, is like when you give out a news information, it's almost like you are showing a vision to people. And when sometimes the news is like, when we hear, oh, this news was fake, or this news was real, or this news was fake or something, then how do you grapple with, like, how do you see things for what they are, instead of first understanding, instead of just creating a perception that this has been said about this, that means this is how it will. So it's actually just a film about a kid who's dealing with like his ideas and values, which are shifting, and understanding both the idea of seeing both metaphorically and literally in the film.
Okay, okay. So I want to ask one question. Do manipulation works in editing?
The manipulation, matlab filmmaking is manipulation. It's
In
like
editing
in, of course it works in matlab we are our job is to manipulate, because we are in the profession. Like, I have studied psychology, and I have studied 3 years of psychology. It's like editing is purely about understanding human psyche. Is like, at this point of time, audience is feeling a certain emotion or a certain peak. How much do I want to hold it on that, and how much do I want to bring in a sudden other story? These are the very minor things which sort of set you up in a certain way as to how to constantly manipulate minds. But the manipulation is to eventually achieve what you are achieving on a bigger level, in terms of a film, what it wants to say. So final emotion is what is very dictative of it. So in the pathway, there are different manipulation to take you on this journey, because you are the audience is coming, shutting their like everything, and focusing on your film for certain. So they are ready to be manipulated, they are ready to be taken for a ride, they are ready to invest themselves. It's like, do you convincingly manipulate? That's the question.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's always like editor's job is to be invisibly manipulating. So it's like, and manipulating is a very strong word, but it's like the idea is be invisible in terms of telling your craft. So where it like all those things where I'm taking on the journey, you don't even realize what journey I'm taking, you are just involved in the journey of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So last question: is there any plans of direct a full-fledged movie?
Of course. Like, I had like great lot of fun directing this short film, and I got to work with incredible actors like Konkana Sen Sharma, and got to work with an incredible crew. Alokananda Das Gupta, who's the Buddha Dev Das Gupta's daughter, and Linesh Desai, Varun Grover. So this experience was something that was for me was an eye opening. Is this is something I enjoy very much, and I want to do it on a bigger sort of a canvas also. So it's something that I'm been trying to write something, I'm trying to develop something. Hopefully, I hope like I'll be here at the same festival maybe in a year or something, and maybe I'll have my film also. That's what I hope to look forward to, and whatever it is, I'm just happy being here right now with my film screening at this Brahmaputra Valley Film Festival, which is a beautiful festival. I was with Tanushri right now, and I was just amazed how sweet and like uh, like it's a very family sort of oriented film festival, which is a very nice feeling to have, because very rarely you get intimate film festivals. You are only like, I've just come from Film Bazaar and I've come from IFI, and it's such a big festival to such a nice sweet short festival, which feels very like a very family sort of so I hope to have like more experiences like this, and definitely want to do a feature soon.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining India Today.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.